There are two major events happening in Borno State. First is the Chief of Army Staff Conference and the monthly Lafia Dole presentation by the Nigerian Army, which was moved from Edo State in respect of the unfortunate incident which claimed the lives of many soldiers in Metele. And President Muhammadu Buhari has come here to attend the conference and galvanize the troops. The president reminds the soldiers that despite the setback, the cardinal objective of their responsibility must not be forgotten.
I know that you are doing your best to reverse this trend, and I want to assure you that no effort will be spared in providing the necessary support you require to complete the task. We remain committed to ending the crisis in the Northeast and making the entire area safe for all. I urge you all to keep up the good work.
On strategy modifications, the Chief of Army Staff says the Army will make the necessary changes to ensure it does not fall short again.
We recognize that there are potent threats that require us to continually review our operations. Hence, this conference will deliberate on ways through which the Nigerian Army can continue to enhance national security.
This is backed by the Minister of Defense, who promises to support the Army with everything needed to achieve the best results.
It is imperative to state that the activities of Boko Haram are being curtailed to the barest minimum in adherence to Commander-in-Chief directives. I'm confident in the capability of our armed forces to dismiss the Boko Haram terrorists, which must be achieved soonest.
Pointing out the root causes of insurgency, the Borno State Governor Kashim Shettima is optimistic that Boko Haram can and will be defeated.
The problems of Boko Haram are complex, composite, and interwoven. And for us to solve the problem, there is a need for a holistic approach encompassing the security, the political, and the military. Beneath the mayhem of Boko Haram, Your Excellency, underneath the nihilism lies the underlying cause, which is extreme poverty. On our own part, Your Excellency, I want to assure you that we'll play our own part of the bargain. We'll support the civilian JTF. We'll support in fighting poverty. And the enabler, a precursor, and a major catalyst for development is education.
President Buhari also took time out to visit wounded soldiers receiving treatment.
We're going to start with that this morning. We'll have a guest. Well, Ajuri, go ahead.
Very much, Chamberlain, and welcome to Abuja. I have with me this morning the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu. You're very welcome to the program, sir.
It's my privilege.
So the visit of yesterday, a lot of perspectives shared yesterday at that conference, and I just want to get your take on ultimately what this visit by President Muhammadu Buhari to Maiduguri will ultimately mean in terms of the military's response to the Boko Haram threat in the country.
Well, it conveys a sense that the President and Commander-in-Chief, as the head of the country's armed forces, is responsive and sensitive to what is happening in that area. And that having gone there to have met the commanders and the soldiers and the hospital visits, as we have seen, I think that all of that will have an effect on the morale of the fighting troops. And, the statement of increased commitment by the administration to support, the forces there with manpower, with the additional equipment, and the matters of welfare. I think that all of this will go to address some of the concerns that are being expressed, from the front.
Well, we understand that obviously the conference yesterday was concentrated on the Nigerian army, that particular branch, but we also know that one of the major issues that has come up in recent days has been the issue of whether or not there has been effective enough synergy between the branches of the Nigerian military in such a way that operations can be effectively carried out. What is your assessment ultimately of the effectiveness of the Nigerian military branches to work together to defeat the common threat that we face?
Well, there's so much in terms of speculation we read about that. Do the facts on the ground suggest this? No, I don't think so, because everyone seems to be, helping one another. Last week, I'm aware that the Nigerian Air Force was involved in the airlift of equipment and food stuff, a lot of it to the fighting forces in the Northeast, mainly ground forces. So they seem to be working together from all we can see. But more than any other thing, the president, as commander-in-chief, I think spoke very firmly on the matter yesterday. He said there must be synergies, they must work together. And this, I think this is commonplace. I mean, even when you don't have inter-service rivalry, you could have elements of intra-service rivalry. So people can always seek to compete against one another. Some of it healthy, some of it very unhelpful.
Well, you're looking at it from the perspective that there is synergy currently. The question I'm really asking you, though, is whether or not that synergy is enough and whether it's effective to essentially deal with the threat that we're facing. The reason why I ask you is because when you look at what unfolded with the recent massacre, for lack of a better term, killing of many of our troops on that day in Metele, one of the issues was how it is that there was not aerial surveillance of the area at the time of the attack, and how those very unfortunate troops were not warned at all in view of the attack that came. Issues have been raised around whether or not the Air Force, for example, was effective in communicating with the Army in that incident. And this is why I'm asking you whether or not there has been enough synergy between the branches.
Well, let me say, if the President and Commander-in-Chief is 100% satisfied with the synergy on ground, he probably would not have found, the reason to give this directive that there should be increased the synergy. But my thinking is that talking about the specific incident, Metele, that you just mentioned, I think that it is more to do with synergy in a regional sense, across the borders than within the elements of our armed forces who must be working together. You are talking about a situation in which, there's a problem on the thin edge, of the border between Nigeria and neighboring countries. And obviously, these elements are looking for weak points, through which they can cross over into our country and perpetrate this mayhem. And this experience is not just limited to Nigeria. Incidents are being recorded increasingly in Niger, theft of about 50 persons only a week ago, in Cameroon and all of that. So it's a Lake Chad basin-wide problem. And I guess this is what warranted, today's conference, which the President has convened in Jamena.
Ultimately, you would understand the impatience of Nigerians in terms of why it is that, why are we still dealing with this threat when the federal government has come out several times to use this term technically defeated when they refer to Boko Haram. Some people have said, why is that term continually being used at a time when we're seeing increasing casualties in certain theaters of the war, and at a time when even our soldiers are not in the most secure positions, even within their bases. What do you have to say to that? Should the federal government continue to bandy this term technically defeated when it refers to Boko Haram?
The government is absolutely correct, absolutely right in